You are tuning in to the You Are Loved podcast, where we hope to bring love and kindness to the world.
Welcome to another You Are Loved podcast, where I have the amazing Jenny here with me today, who is a spiritual life coach. She's been called a spiritual guide, a mindset coach. She calls herself a connection coach because she has a business consulting background, and a majority of leaders that she works with are business leaders. Each client has different needs for connection, and hers is focus. Her focus is mind, body, and spirit. She does identify as a Christian, but her clients do have all beliefs. And you can always find her at jennypitts.com. So welcome, Jenny. It's great to finally have you on. We had a great conversation before.
Nice to be on. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So share with us a little bit about what you do and like what your coaching is about, and then I'd love to learn about like your journey to where you came to today. I think that's really
Absolutely. Well, I help people build. I help people build their lives, or I help people build their businesses. I have a consulting background. I was marketing consultant for big Fortune 500s. And then I started to, I'm already getting into my background. I started sort of helping assist lots of business leaders. And so it only naturally progressed into something that was business coaching. I did do marketing consulting. I started my own agency in 2018, but it really felt like a spiritual God call when I took this path.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then so you say it's like a spiritual God call. So you had a marketing agency. And what made you decide to start that in 2018? And what did you do before that? I just want to learn a little bit about your journey, because I think that's part of your testimony and part of what brought you today, and the background to what I think gives you a lot of the strength to be able to help out new people, and to be able to relate and just understand and be able to provide better info.
Absolutely. Well, I very much followed the path of the herd. I'm super tall and I wanted to just fit in. And so I think I tried to fit in my career as well. I've had a heart for people. I have a huge heart to help. So I thought that journey would be into the nonprofit arena. And I was in the nonprofit arena and I had a good gig. It was for Habitat for Humanity. I did things I enjoyed doing, but I drove to work one day and like the core of my being, which I believe is my spirit, was like, I hate what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then again, that happened. Fast forward almost like 10 years, I was in IT, and it was kind of fun because I got to do something that's so radically different than creativity and marketing. And my mind, it was quite a shift to get into the IT space. It's the way you think in IT is so different. And then I finally, I guess in a year in, I had like conquered IT. I understood it. I could, converse with VPs of IT. And I had this really successful meeting with this $1 billion VP of IT. And he said I was talented, and I left and I felt really good about myself. But then that inner voice was like, I hate my job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was actually the beginning of the end for me. I have a spiritual relationship with Jesus, and I was in prayer and felt like it's time to stop. But that was honestly the scariest thing I'd ever done, is leave that gig, because it was, I'm sorry. It was just something that, like leaving the IT world for me and doing my own thing, I thought I knew what my own thing was, honestly. because I
Uh-huh.
had a background in a marketing agency. I was like, this is my own thing. This is my thing. And no matter what you build, whether it be the right purpose in what you build or you build something off, which I believe marketing agency was off from, God's plan for my life. It's hard. You're going to have a lot of tumultuous moments. You're going to have to like really come up against uh, fears and insecurities. And I mean, it's such a growth space, So
Mhm.
that's really how I got into this space was um, doing my marketing agency and then having a horrible client who narcissist. Like she was brutal. And I have like agency background, so I know to like cover my tail and I know how to like trace my steps and like defend my case in everything you do. You have to defend yourself in marketing agency world. But she was a really good friend. And so I didn't take precautions with her like I would have if it was more of a
Yeah.
corporate relationship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so she took advantage of me, or rather, maybe I let her take. It's like it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And I was like on all these different forums, like I don't know what to do. We did this website together, and it was just a disaster. Like
Mm.
everything was going wrong with this website. And I am from IT, so I thought it would be a super easy WordPress website. And like things were shaking and links weren't working. And I mean, it was brutal, really brutal. And we were way over budget. And she was like a small company. And I didn't want to I mean, I took it to like different entrepreneur forums and everybody, it was a 50-50. 50% were like, you got yourself into this, you have to finish it. And the other half were like, bail shit, jump, you know?
Yeah.
And then like when I was in that season of, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I heard, and I believe, well, God is spirit. So it was like to my spirit, I hate this job, this project. I heard, I
Yeah.
hate this project. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't afford to do my own thing anymore. And just like it felt like the jealous voice of God for me. Like it was like God was
Yeah.
like, you're on your path, you're not on purpose, and I'm jealous for you. This
Yeah.
project is consuming you and you're worshiping it. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, but maybe it went kind of like all hellish because it had to force you to he gets us super uncomfortable to like force us to make those decisions sometimes because we're not seeing it ourselves or we're not, doing what we need to do on our side. But he's just like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and either get you fired from this or I'm gonna just like make it really uncomfortable,
Right.
or you're just gonna, and
Yeah.
then so, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. One of my coaching friends always says it has to be painful enough to make you leave.
Yeah.
And it wasn't painful hearing I hate this project, but it was scary. It was like, oh, God is jealous for my life. And I've always felt a pull
Mm.
that like God wanted me to do something for him. Like I was born and my mom goes, Jenny, you didn't cry. And all the nurses came in because it was the easiest birth. And like literally she told me that when I was a third grader. And I was like, I'm gonna do something for God. I'm gonna do something for God. Like I have a call on my life. So it felt like a moment of God, like, you have a call on your life. I want your undivided attention. Can I get it? Like you're worshiping something that's not me. Like, can I get you?
Yeah.
So that, and then even that though, like, because I was doing what I knew, I think religion is doing what you know. Like you go through the routine, you go through the steps, you go through the things. And I could say, like, for me, work was like a religion for me. It was just something I knew and it was comfortable. And I was, checking the boxes and I was succeeding in it, but it wasn't true. It wasn't like pure. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
pure pursuit of God's purpose for my life, really.
And you didn't really need God at that point per se, because we always need him. But I'm just saying, like with your career and stuff like that, although he did find the favor and stuff like that initially, but like sometimes we have a tendency to step back a little bit. And he's like, no, 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 no. We have to always you have to stay focused
Right.
on me.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Because with
Yeah.
religion, you don't actually need a relationship with God. You have your program, you have your um, things to, and you know, well, what the word says that the religion that's pure is like caring for the orphans and the widows, and it's such a heart level, like thing, true
Hmm.
relationship with God and pursuing your purpose. It's such a heart activity, really. So,
And so now you do life coaching. And
yes.
so have you worked at like companies? Do you do individual coaching? And are you creating any programs? Like what's going on now? That
Yeah, yeah. So I've
you
been,
like, yeah, what's up?
yeah. I've been doing one-on-one coaching for the past year, and I've been coaching innovative leaders and really people who are attracted to me. I mostly have a presence on Facebook. So I have a lot of clients from Facebook, a lot of clients from networking. And honestly, it's the whole gamut. Like I call myself a connection coach because one person needs to be connected to community more and like is feeling, you know, disheveled because there aren't relationships there. And so we'll coach and talk about that. Or the next person will be needing to build their business and needing tools to really take it to the next level. And so I connect people with all different things. And I've never told anybody this, but part of my desire potentially, and I don't know if I'm going to keep that like title as connection coach, is because when I left IT, there was one day when in my spirit I kept hearing um, Ministry of Reconciliation, Ministry of Reconciliation, Ministry of Reconciliation. And I was like,
Mm,
what does that mean? You know, I was like, what does that mean? And I knew it was in the word. It's like I found it in the word, and it's in Second Corinthians where Paul says that we all have a ministry of reconciliation. So my like core spirit desire is to help people build their lives and their businesses, but it's really a ministry of reconciliation to God, that it would be
mm,
when you come into alignment with his purposes for your life, that's when you really start building. That's when like
mm.
life really starts happening because he's the author of life. So he can
Yeah.
be the author of your business and your whatever it is, you know. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
the direction I'm going now. I'm starting Dynamis Leadership, which is my newest venture. I'm building a website for it. It's going to be my vision for it is a community, and I want to do group coaching, classes, things that will empower people and specifically leaders, because leaders create culture and they create environments. And
Hmm.
honestly, a bad leader can make your life a living hell. So we need powerful
Yes.
leaders. Dynamis is the Greek word for power. It's also the word for dynamo, dynamic, and dynamite. So I was like, I
Mm,
like that word.
okay.
Yeah.
That's that's awesome.
Yeah.
I saw on your website you have also something that's like around uh Seraphim Leadership Circle, but I don't want to I'm going to ask you about
Oh,
that in a
yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the jennypitts.com is what I have up right now. It's really been what I've been engaging with people, but I'm moving a different direction. I think that my desire for leadership circles always been there, but I never built anything with Seraphim. I just put that on the website
Put the
itself.
idea there
Yeah,
to
it's
see
like
what
it
would
was like
happen.
it was
Yeah.
always brewing inside of me. Like it was
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
but I didn't do anything with it. I just put it up there, and I thought if people are interested, I'll get it. I'll gather enough people, and then
Yeah.
I'll create it.
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
I'm,
It's interesting for
yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. So on my last pod with my friend Tracy, I titled it 'cause she's resumes and coaching and different things like that. And I called it so your title, a couple things. It resurrected with me, but it was called Resurrecting the Resume of Your Life is what we called the podcast.
Oh, I love that. That's good.
And so two things. One is I love um your connection name. Like I love that. I think it's great for professional. And then the other one I think for ministry of resurrection, right? Is that
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
okay. I think that's amazing. I feel that it's like maybe that's might be more of your spiritual calling, like something that you're going to do
Good.
for uh Christians per se
Right.
that are
Yeah.
looking for other pathways,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that is absolutely amazing. But those two kind of like not resurrected, but resonated in my mind.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought that was
Cool.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had this vision. God speaks to me in pictures in my brain because I used to paint, and I had this vision, and it was the church walking on one side of a river, but there were people looking at the river, and I didn't think much of it other than maybe that the interpretation of that vision is like half the church is just walking in lockstep, just doing religion, and then the other half is like, I want the life, the river of life. And then I saw the other side like a couple days later, and it was the world, and they were doing the
Mm,
exact same thing. And I was like, that's what I do.
mm.
It's like I help people get in the river. That's what I want to do. Life, like breathe life into your life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like I think when Moses was like going into the water to be able to
Mhm,
get them towards the promised land, but
mhm.
they had to go through the Red Sea first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah. And then
That's
the
cool.
nice thing about that is that when they got through, the Lord closed it up on the other side so they couldn't get attacked from behind.
Oh, that's
And
good.
so, yeah, so if you think about that, it's like you help them create tools and boundaries and different things like that to help build them up to move them forward to their next chapter in their life, but then also providing that protection of God around them. You
Mm,
don't provide that, God does, but you
yeah, yeah,
provide them with the tools or the information or whatever
yeah.
around that to be able to
Right.
help them move to the next direction. That's
Yeah,
just
that's
how I
good.
perceive that.
I
So
love it. Yeah, no, I do have a program. I have a 90-day program that I'd been working with groups doing. They weren't specifically leadership groups, and it was more like a pilot group. And as I did it with them, we focused a lot on identity, knowing truth, and then the second section was war. Like we need to know how to war and be in war because we're in war.
mm,
And then the end was really like actually a, a lot was about faith and our resilience. I called it like strength, strategy, and stamina. Like those three things create a leader or
yeah,
somebody who's not a victim, right? Because I consider mothers leaders if they don't have to be in the business arena or
yeah,
whatever. They are leaders of their family. Uh,
yeah,
you know.
yep.
Mhm.
If you see someone that is repeating the same patterns over and over and over again, right? They're believers,
Mm,
uh, but they have this negative side. And you know, I'm not
yeah,
perfect. I'm not talking about myself here, but I'm not perfect either. So, but like, uh,
yeah.
but but I'm just curious to know how, as a coach in business and spiritual walk stuff like that, how you would help someone like this, or suggestions or advice that you'd provide to this individual that, and I forget what verse it's in, but it does talk about it in the Bible. It's like where one of the guys goes, Lord, I know that I keep failing but my
Mm,
sins or something like that
mm.
overtake me, but I just keep doing it anyways, even though I know it's wrong. Why do I keep failing? I want to get this part out of me or whatever. That's definitely not word for word. But
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. That's so good.
so anyways,
That's so good.
but someone that's in business that is repeating the same negative patterns, like when it comes to like either finances or their attitude, where they deal with a lot of anxiety and stress. Really, a lot of it has to do around anxiety, right? And
Mhm.
stress um and not and then just like and then taking it out on people. I personally think there's some other things I can't say on the podcast, but anyways, I'd love to hear what
Yeah,
your advice
yeah.
would be for someone
Well,
like.
to me, you just sort of talked about the pain point of the first tenet of that program is which is identity and then knowing truth.
Mm,
Um, I often think of those scriptures of the truth sets you free. That's knowing it. And then where the spirit is Lord, there is freedom. So like what you're dealing with is a lack of identity or a lack of understanding, truth. And so everybody's different and everybody has different beliefs guiding different things. A lot of times there's wounds that, you know, somebody's told you, you'll never make it, you'll never make it, you'll never make it. And even though I'll make it, you can't
mhm.
break that I'll never make it
Yeah.
because it's like dad told me that, so if that is like happening, I really encourage people using my testimony in ways that I've gotten out of a cycle, because in the
Yeah.
spirit realm things work in cycles. They'll in the demonic realm it's like it's a harassment really.
Yeah.
And then in the spirit realm, God's gently like reminds us and like gently is like, let's deal with this memory or let's deal, like, so there's
Yeah.
two different like arenas of spirit realm that are happening. So we have to identify like, what is the source? What are we dealing with? And how are we going to deal with that? You know?
Mm.
Um, so, because identity alone, the truth will set you free. That alone can sometimes set people free. I have a friend who, um, she was having problems in her marriage, as an example, and somebody said, "Oh, that's the Prince of Persia or something." So I'm like, he like named the demon or something, and like it like totally set them free. Like they were like, "Oh, this is a spiritual." Like just even knowing that it was a
Yeah.
spiritual thing, like
100%. Yeah.
helped them feel like, okay. I think like honestly, there's patterns in spiritual. Um, Everything spiritual there's like a language and there's patterns, and some people don't know it. So I will help like educate like people if I have to, or use some of the tools. Speaking is like one of the most profound ways that we break with agreements of negative thoughts or negative
Yeah.
anything, is like just speaking the opposite of it. I used to be petrified of all things performance, especially being on stage. And I'm not going to say that you have to speak the Bible, but if you just speak like I am loved and people want to hear me speak and people like are drawn to me, and I'm created to be on stage and I'm created to master this test or whatever performance you have to do. I'm created to be in front of this board. I'm created for this interview. Like I am an incredible, but not just thinking it, but saying it and saying it until it's true. I have a
Yeah.
dear friend who's wildly successful. He said that he used to hold the steering wheel and say, I can, I can, I can, I can, before he went into scary arenas, where
Mm.
because he
Where
wanted
he
to
was
take it
going
to
to
the next
speak.
level. Or he was he was dealing with, he's a realtor, so he was dealing with, scary, probably negotiations, and you
Okay.
didn't want to show. You can't show up weak. There's like arenas like you cannot show up and be like,
Yeah, no, because
yeah,
they'll eat
I
you
really
alive.
I want the better deal. It's like no,
Yeah,
he
no,
knew
they'll
he
eat you
had to
alive.
show up strong.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
That's a great way to get into that, yeah.
the mouth is so powerful when people know, and there's actually so many different spiritual arenas that know that truth, like just speaking it. So if you can align it with God, truly what God is saying, it's like a home run.
Have you heard of the book called The Gap in the Gain?
No, the gap
It's
in
a
the
really
game.
good book, and it talks about our thought process and, like,
Mm,
how many negative thoughts and positive thoughts and stuff like that we have. I did the Audible
mm.
book on that. It really changed my life. And then I was like,
Really?
when I was yeah, I need to listen to it again because I've gone back to but, allowing, which I'll ask you that in a second. Um how negative, like, just starting in the morning with, like, negative crap in our heads, which I think is probably why
Mm,
it's good to journal in the morning,
right.
and then to be able to get a lot of that stuff out, and then it's just, like, rebuking those thoughts, and I don't one thing I don't allow people to do is to, like, say negative stuff to me, like, if
Mhm.
they're, um like, if someone says something negative to me or they say something negative against my business or anything like that, I'm like, "I rebuke that in the name of Jesus." I said, "Don't ever say that to me again."
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'm like they're
That's good.
just like,
You're like, I don't agree with that.
"Well,"
Yeah.
like, "No,
Yeah.
I rebuke that, I rebuke that. That's a demonic thing that you're trying to put over me.
Yeah.
I rebuke that. Don't ever say that to me again, or we just can't
Mm,
have communion together," you know?
yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's really good.
Um, so when you
You're
were
using your
dealing
mouth to do that too. You just use
Yes,
your mouth to
yes,
declare a
yeah.
alignment. You're saying,
'Cause
I'm not aligning with that.
I
Yeah.
don't want that negativity to sit inside of me and my subconscious, and then all of a sudden it sit there, and I don't even know that it's there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it starts to manifest in different ways. No, like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah. Yeah.
rebuked right from the beginning. It's not
Yeah.
allowed in. Get out,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
you know?
like you can take it further, right? Like then you can go, I am a strong business leader. I have been created to make troves of money. Like
Yeah.
I attract wealth because I'm God's kid and he provides everything I need.
Yeah.
Like God is a provider. God is a healer. God is a strengthener. Like God is so available to his children, and so that's good. I like that, Jacqueline.
Yeah,
Or
I like
Beulah.
what you just said. I don't know who needed that. I know that I did what you just said, and I know somebody else that's listening to this or will listen to it
Yeah.
needs that too. And then I hope Opus Clip clips this clip
There you go. I
and
like it.
turns it into a short. Okay, so my other question is because I know there's a lot of people that are, I mean, I don't know, who knows, whatever, but there's people I'm sure in the world that
Yeah.
deals with toxic people. I've dealt with that.
Mm,
I'm dealing with this situation right now. And it's like a couple of people in my life that I'm closely connected to. One is a family member that I feel are um toxic, right?
mm,
And not always, right? But it's in spurts, which for me, I feel is like an abusive relationship. Okay.
yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I, as a Christian, want to learn how to, I need to figure out, what does God want and all this or whatever. So when people are dealing with like say like a toxic client or a toxic boss or a toxic whatever
Yeah.
like in their life
Yeah.
within their business and career and stuff like that, what's your suggestions or advice with them when it's like you want to learn how to be the right Christian and pray, but
Yeah.
also we need to protect ourselves and not allow ourselves to be abused, but
Yeah.
then what if they need that relationship for something, like, it's just a lot, like, trying to
Oh,
figure
yeah.
all that out. So, when you were
Yeah.
going through that, right, like, what
Yeah.
would you when I'm sure you've seen that within some of your clients as well.
Right.
So what's some advice that you've provided or some questions that someone should be asking themselves,
Mhm.
to discover, outside of like fasting and praying, in addition to
Mhm.
that, what's the best thing for them to have the wisdom to know what to do next? Sorry,
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
processing it as I was asking the question.
No, that's fair. Yeah. So I think that we pray for our enemies, right? Like,
Hmm.
I think I just did a live recently about the climate of the politicians and stuff. It's like we don't have time to be hating on people. Like, we must pray for our enemies and pray for them to be transformed by God's love, and which hopefully would mean that they would stop abusing us, right?
Yeah,
But it also doesn't mean like stand up to the plate and come get abused. Like, some people do need a hard boundary, and God is like, walk away, you know?
yeah,
So I think like as I pursue God more, I realize I understand, I'm coming into an understanding of what Jesus is saying when he teaches certain things. Like, he says, seek first the kingdom and his righteousness. So I did a word study on righteousness, and like righteousness really is those two commandments, like loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then loving your neighbor as yourself. And so when we seek first God and loving our neighbor, because ultimately what you're talking about is like, how do I love these toxic people? Like, how do you
yeah,
love these toxic people and love
yeah.
yourself? Because you're loving your neighbor as yourself. So it's actually not
Mm,
really a healthy place to be sometimes. It's
yeah,
really, that is where we're being led by the Spirit. Like, we have to seek first his righteousness, which is knowing him, right? Like, when we know
yeah,
him, we get the wisdom that we need in every situation, because there is no textbook scenario. Like, there's no textbook response. It's God's best for you, Jacqueline. So like,
yeah.
it might be exit. It might be, I put you here so that you can shine light on this situation. I'm going to show you
Mm,
something. And then surprise, like, this person's transformed because you loved her through her being a
yeah,
jerk, like,
yeah,
so really that's like paramount to all the children of light, like,
yeah,
we have to know God and who he is and what he's saying ultimately. And all we can do until we really do get the download from heaven is like, um, pray for the person ultimately. Pray
yeah,
for the situation and pray for the person. And I ask the question often, what does love look like? What does love look
yeah.
like in this situation? You know?
Mm, I have no idea.
So, but the thing is that God's eager to tell you and show you, and then also even
Yeah,
show you sometimes in the word, like as you pursue him in the word, like it's like, oh my gosh, surprise, you're reading James and it's the exact same thing you needed, or the two wisdom
yeah,
books are
exactly.
Proverbs and James. So yeah, but God's like for you and for your abundance. It's like a thief comes to
Yeah,
steal, kill, and destroy, but I come to give life abundantly. So
yeah.
that's the whole meal deal from the kingdom.
I I'd probably say my biggest thing is that I have not prayed about it. No, I have prayed about it, but I have not prayed for either one of these people, and that's on me,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So it's like,
So when you were
and
talking
blessing
about
them
that,
too.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like, I will not
yeah,
partner with offense. I like, because that's almost like the right here, right now forgiveness, right? So we all know we have to
yeah,
forgive. Jesus is on the cross saying, I forgive them for they know not, you know. And
yeah,
so it's like there's the forgiveness piece, but there's also the offense piece, and then there's the wisdom piece. And like ultimately, everybody needs God's wisdom, and how you
yeah,
get that,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
prayer and then reading. I mean, the wisdom books are Proverbs and James, so like you can get into those words too. And I heard this guy say once that he read Proverbs, and I've never done it, but I really love this. He would be like, um, the Lord detests the use of I'm just picking Proverbs
yeah,
11. I was read dishonest scales, but he delights in accurate weights. Like, and then he would just be like, I detest dishonest scales, and you detest it, and I partner with your personality, and we just test dishonest scales, and like you delight in accurate weights, and you are bringing accurate weights into my life, and this is, like you are as a person who you are God that delights in me and my life, and with this person, and like you hate dishonesty and you love accurate weights, and so Lord, I just thank you, and like he would go through the Proverbs. And apply it to his life. And that's the wisdom chapter. He'd even be like, I'm wisdom. Like, I have wisdom. Like, you endow me with wisdom and insight. And like, I'm your child. And he would speak it, right? With the word, the mouth, which James says is the rudder of our ship, and it guides our boat. It guides us to where we need to be.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting. Oh, yeah. Huh? Speaking of what?
Speaking it. So you speak a blessing also. Like for me, with people I've had to forgive, I've said I forgive them. I love them until it actually meant something. I didn't love them at first,
Yeah. I think I through this process, I had been trying to figure out like where's my responsibility and all this, and what do I need to take ownership over, and and so that's it really. It's like praying over them, asking the Lord to come into their, especially my family, but like their lives, to be able to transform them. And I should have been doing this all along, especially because of circumstances, and I just had not, and that's on me. So it's interesting. It's interesting because God came to me in a dream the other night, and he was like, this is your family, right? He was like, this is all the family you have left, which is my parents and my aunt and uncle and their kids. And I was trying to think about it, like my mom's sister, I haven't spoken to her in years. I have a half sister, my dad's daughter, but she is super toxic, and likes the devil. So we don't have a relationship, and she don't want a relationship with us either. And, which is fine. And then that's it for blood relatives. Right.
Wow.
And, and all of it's really like all half blood relatives. The only full blood relatives I have left are my parents. That's it.
Wow.
And they're 76.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just kind of crazy. So I was trying to figure out like what he was telling me in the stream is like, maybe do I need to sell my house in Florida and like move to Alabama to be with my mom and my dad? But then like the next day, I don't know about that, but I'm gonna pray and fast on that and see like whatever he wants me to do next. But then I feel bad about displacing my family that's taking care of my mom. It's just a lot. So but the prayer thing, and I was getting super worried about it. Yeah.
A power role, actually, because then you're not subject to all the chaos that you're experiencing, because then because really ultimately prayer is aligning you to God's heart for a person.
Yeah.
And then that person can try to throw stuff at you, and you're like, oh, I'm not even available to be thrown at. Like, I'm so far removed from that now, because I'm so aligned with love.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is out of a wound that you have, trying to hurt me because you're hurting. And I see it now, He gives us his perspective for people when we start to like invest in them in prayer.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And then like with this other individual, I think some of the things that which I think a lot of people should look at this too, which I think also is what scares us about some people that may be a little over the top in some things. So for example, years ago, I dated a guy who was like kind of like all over the place. This was my early 30s. And he was kind of all over the place, but he was just terrible with money, never could figure anything out. And like, I just hated the fact that he just could not make a decision. And like, he's so talented with like comic books and stuff like that. And he started to go to church with me, turned his life over to Christ. But that part of his life, when it come to growing up and all this, he never got it together, right? He's still
Okay.
like in his 50s, just still doesn't have his life together, and it's sad.
Yeah.
And not clicking yet, that, or not taking ownership of anything and realizing like, listen, my life's effed up. I need to like figure it out, But that
Right.
used to frustrate me about him. But I think there was certain things like with his finances, because I've always been kind of scattered with my finances. I've not been the happiest about how I've treated my own finances over my life. I have what I have because of the grace of God, and I just live under him. So 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And I've slowly been getting rid of some idols and stuff that I've had in my life.
Sure.
And
Sure.
uh and but I just think like sometimes like if there's things and people that we just don't really like on a general scale, it's because we're noticing those same things in ourselves and we don't like that about ourselves. And
Yeah.
so I think also coming to prayer for that is then also praying for that person, and then asking God to reveal us in ourselves what it is, that if there's anything that's lying up, anything. God, I don't know the scripture, but anyways, it's like take the thorn out of your own eye before you go to about somebody else's or whatever.
Right.
It's kind of
Right.
like what's going on underneath, but kind of
Yeah.
figuring all that out, and if someone's not a Christian or whatever, but just still looking at that and then asking yourself, you know, what do I need to do to regulate this, or how can I don't really think we can fix ourselves, but fix ourselves to become that better person. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
always
he does the
seeking for
fixing,
that.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He does the fixing.
So,
Yeah. It's like grace is, this is the level you need to be at. This is the level you're at. And grace takes you there because that's God's deal.
yeah,
Like God's like in it. And then
yeah,
with talk, and I mean, I have a testimony of God saying like, this relationship needs to end. And I'm like a hardcore friend.
yeah,
And like, I don't give up on people. And God
yeah,
said that this is over now. So it happens, God will say, moving on,
yeah,
And so that's where like our intimacy with God and our pursuit of truth is all that matters,
yeah,
you know, and
yeah,
your relationships. Like God has a plan. If He's telling you they're your family,
yeah,
then it might be that God's going to open your heart, and there might be a healing that happens from your relationship with one another, and like there
yeah.
might something positive can come of this. You just
Maybe,
never ever know.
maybe.
You just know that you want to align with truth ultimately
Yeah,
and
I know
love.
it's that would be God for sure. So, that's definitely nothing that's gonna happen here on earth. It definitely has to be spiritual, and
Yeah,
so
but
for
He
sure,
changes
yeah,
our hearts too. He changes our hearts.
100%.
So that
And I hope he changes mine.
Well,
So
He has done that for me when I pray for
yeah,
people. Disliked I disliked this artist that I worked with so much. He and I would like butt heads, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like him." And I started to pray for him. I was like,
mm.
"You like him, God. I don't like him, but I know you like him. Can you show me? Can you help this situation?" Because we were working in this small little agency. And then we became alliances, and we became like really good friends. Like I have a couple different stories like that. So it's like,
Oh, that's great.
yes, things change when you start to pray, especially
Yeah,
like you don't know what's going on in the invisible realm, but God does. And so He
yeah,
might tell you, they're
yeah,
jerks because of this. And it'll give you
yeah,
grace to understand better
yeah,
what's going on. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, so I think that I'm hoping that will help other people. It's not just my therapy session, because that wasn't intended that way. I just wanted to
No, it's
I just
awesome.
figured
It's so good.
other people could be going through the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
And just to see if, like any suggestions that you'd have, and you went through that. And
Yeah.
so and sometimes
Yeah.
you just have to heal and just move on. But I would say if we haven't started praying for them first, that's a
Mhm.
great place to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is
Well,
my obedience to God,
Yeah.
because I've been disobedient in that area, and that's where I need to check myself
Hmm.
and become alignment in him. So that's where I need to remove the thorn out of my eye first and go to him first.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's good. So yeah, there's three things, and they're simple, that help us overcome: the blood, the word of our testimony, and we love not our life unto death, and that's surrender. That's it. The blood is Jesus. The blood
mhm.
is the legal transaction that he accomplished on the cross. The blood is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, loving your neighbor as yourself, like the teachings of Christ and the legal transaction, which is violating you right now, but you're going to overcome it as you pray
Yeah.
and align with truth. Um, and then the word of our testimony. I tell stories all the time because I'll have a memory will come, and I'm like, I'm going to give it to you. I don't know if that's going to help you, but I know we overcome by story, you know, the word of our testimony helps us overcome. And for me, in this season that I'm in and doing a coaching business and all that, is surrender, like loving not my life unto death, because I want to just follow the pack and do what I know and all, um, but Jesus teaches like no greater love is than this, that they lay down their lives.
Mm.
That's like how you love, is laying your life down ultimately.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't get to be selfish, we don't get to be self-absorbed, we don't get to be entitled. um, so it's, Father, what does love look like in this situation? Do I need healing in this situation? Like, where are we going? What are we doing? How are we
Yeah.
going to love these people? And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. So, okay. So have you written a book? That's what I was going to ask you.
No, I did write I have a lead magnet, or that's a marketing term. It's like a little mini book, and it's called From Unsatisfied to Unstoppable.
Oh, I love that.
And the entire time I wrote it, I was thinking of those two stories of me in the car. I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
I like, people need help to become unstoppable. And
Yeah.
really truly get on purpose. And my husband and I, he actually came in and like started helping. Like, it was like there was just such a block. I was like, I can't get this out. I can't get this out. I can't get. And he sat down and we were like, take yourself to that mental space of being unsatisfied. Take yourself to that mental space of misery in your job. How do you get out
Yeah.
of that space to pursue what God has for you? And that's
Yeah.
what the whole book is about. And it is kind of about the identity and the word and the war and the stamina and all the stuff, the faith piece.
Yeah.
It's all intertwined ultimately. As I like build new things or grow different directions, like it's all intertwined. And I will write a book. I'll probably make this a bigger book at some point.
That's what I was thinking. I was gonna say, are you gonna expand? Like, I could see you talk. I love the title, and I really think you could expand that book. Now, is the lead magnet available on your website, or is that a separate
So
link?
that'll be on Dynamis Leadership. I'm building the funnel
Okay.
right now, and I'll put that on my website actually. And thank you for saying that. I'll put that link to Dynamis when I go live with that website, and that'll be
Yeah.
my
I mean, you'll obviously have a separate link for it that you'll market to and stuff, but if you have it
yeah,
on
yeah,
there as well, then people can easily find it from
yeah,
here.
definitely.
So just as like, yeah, yeah. I think that's amazing, Jenny. Okay.
Thank
Is there
you.
any last thing you'd like to share? Because we're coming to a close. It's been amazing. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I enjoyed our first phone call. I thought that was great. It seemed like
Yeah.
we've known each other for a while. And I was looking forward to this episode, and it definitely did not fail.
Aw,
So I'm
awesome.
I'm happy
Awesome.
about
Yeah,
that. And
awesome.
yeah. So
Okay, well,
this
my final word would be: there's always hope. There's always um, an out. You're not trapped. You're not a victim. There's freedom. there's abundance, and there's a lot of really, really good things that God has for his children. And it's not even a maybe kind of thing. I have this story of somebody that violated my teeth. Actually, I have nice teeth, but I had a bad experience with medical community, and I was tormented by it, honestly, like tormented. I could not get it out. Every time anything negative would happen to me, I would think negative thoughts, and that memory would come up. They did it to you. It was basically like this powerful, like powerless. It was like this voice of you are powerless.
Mm-hmm.
And so my final words would be like, that is a lie. And what I did was I just got on my bed and I said, God, you deliver from powerlessness, because that memory makes me feel powerless. And I probably had some negative experience that made me feel powerless. So it's like, if you give your children power, I want to know it.
Yeah.
And so,
and David, he talks about that.
What did you say?
David in the Bible, David does. Yeah.
Yeah. So a dynamis means power in Greek. Dynamis. And the irony of that word, and I gave you the English words dynamite, dynamo, is that is the word used with the woman with the issue of blood when she reached for the hem of his garment. It said dynamis went out from him. A lot of the church says dynamis, but it's dynamis. It's the power. Dynamis means strength. Dynamis means power. So I just want your audience to know that they're powerful people. And I'm happy to help you find that if that is something you're looking for. I help people build their lives, and I help them build their business, because you are worth being built up. You are loved. And that is the truth.
That is the truth.
That's my last word.
Okay. And everybody can find you at jennypitts.com. JENNY, P as in Paul, ITT. That's T as in Tom, SPITTS. Okay.
Absolutely.
And it's also be in the show. It is already in the show notes. So the website.
Okay.
All right,
Perfect.
Jenny, thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you for
thanks.
having me.
All right.
I
Same
enjoyed
here.
it.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, everyone. That was another episode of the You Are Loved podcast. Please go and check Jenny out at jennypitts.com. And then also check us out. We are putting a mastermind together along with our 18-month planner. So you can go to youarelovedplanner.com and get access to that. So you get the 1-hour mastermind with the planner for $29.99. Thank you. Amazing. Have an amazing day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of You Are Loved. If you have any topic ideas or would like to be a guest on the show, please hit us up on Instagram at youareloved.store.